Hi, welcome back to Waxing On Wednesday, part 2 of the Beatles. Remember Monday we were looking at albums post Sgt. Pepper, which was a landmark album. A lot of things changed. It's a very tumultuous time, the late 60s. We're looking at, I think it was 67 for Sgt. Pepper, 68 we looked at Magical Mystery Tour, one we just covered. And they also released another album in that time, which to me, I think was a landmark album, one of my favorites. I own this one on vinyl, which I'm going to show you today. I've got it on DVD, CD. I have a digital download. This is the one I purchased the most, and it was the Beatles' White Album. This one you can see, if I can get to it there. Well, there it is right there, the embossed Beatles name. This one did not have a number on it. Some of the early releases had a number to give you an idea. It was almost like a limited edition, and you got a numbered edition of it. This one doesn't have that. This one came out in 68 or 69, I think. I picked it up, obviously. I don't know if you can see that. Let's get it. There you are there. April 1971. I must have thought it was 1970 and I had to change that. So a couple of years later, the idea was that the cover was going to just be a total changeover from Sgt. Pepper. So much was happening on that cover. So much was overdone. They said, let's just strip it down. Let's do something totally opposite. Came up with the White Album. Now, there was some confusion around this because about the same time, Leonard started putting out albums, and he put out one with him and Yoko Ono called Two Virgins, which had a picture of him and Yoko naked on the cover. And rumor was going around that what happened was this was that album. They had to take the picture off. That's why we had a blank slate here, a blank cover. That was not the case. That was a totally different album. It was packaged in a paper sleeve. It was Lennon and Yoko. It had nothing to do with the Beatles, nothing to do with this album. Okay, this album, about the time it came out, Beatles had gone to India. They were in a transcendental meditation retreat. Maharishi Mahesh Yoga was leading that. They stayed for a while. Some of them started to spare off. Ringo left, and then McCartney left. They did a lot of writing, and the only non-Indian instruments there apparently were acoustic guitar, so a lot of acoustic writing, some of that which translated to this album. 30 tunes on here. Now, roughly maybe half of those tunes had the actual Beatles performing. There were so many other people that the whole Beatles were never all together on all the tunes. They were bringing in guests. They were recording their own material and bringing it in. Back in the USR, the kickoff tune for the album, Ringo was gone. Other guys were playing drums for him. Let me see now, we got Harrison bringing in Eric Clapton to play the guitar on While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Just an excellent solo, a classic there. But things were changing. The Beatles were not that tight unit that they used to be. There was still a lot of infighting going on. They were writing their own tunes, bringing in their material, recording it with who they wanted. Again, there was only maybe half the album, if that they recorded as the Beatles. And again, we've got Yoko in here, which up to this point, the guys had excluded all significant others from the recording process. Yoko's working her way in. Again, causing a lot of friction in there and a lot going on with the Beatles. And this is kind of like we talked about with Magical Mystery Tour and one of the other albums. You go on internet, check it out, the White Album. You'll get all the background on it. I mean, George Martin walked away for a while on this. Ringo was gone for a while on it. Things were really happening. It's amazing they put out such a great album. 30 tunes on here. But a lot happening with the band. And they were still able to put out a couple more albums after this, which was, amazing, because things are really starting to get shaken up. So go online, read the backstory if you like. Again, let's get back to when I bought the album, 1971. We knew nothing of that, right? We knew about Yoko and the problems that was creating. We knew about some of the drug use. We knew about the Paul is Dead, which again is being referenced on this album. Those kind of things, the general public knew about, but all that background, all the infighting, all the other, things that were affecting the production of the music, we didn't know that. If you want to check it out, go ahead. Here, we just want to talk about the music. And the music on this album was just excellent. The album itself, you saw, I just showed you now. Both sides, totally clear. Even the back spine, the only thing on it there, if you can see it, if I can get that in there. Well, it's not showing up right now. It just says the Beatles. So basically, unless you knew somebody that had the album, you were buying it blind. No idea what was on here. We knew it was a 2-record set, right? Not like Mystery Tour that had an open jacket, but nothing else on it. Inside, again, looks pretty bare. Oh, gonna stand up. We've got 4 shots of the guys. And we've got a list of tunes. And classic tunes on here. I don't think anything was really released as a single off this album. It was around the same time that Hey Jude came out, and that got released. Not on this album. Revolution was also another one, but a different version than on here, the one they released as a single. So on here, we'll see how many of these sound familiar to you. We've got Back in the USSR, one McCartney wrote in kind of response to Living in the USA that we talked about with Chuck Berry. Dear Prudence, Glass Onion, reference here about the walrus was Paul. We're back to that walrus again. The whole Paul is dead story. Obla Di Obla Da, again a very popular one of McCartney's. Wild Honey Pie, continuing story of Bungalow Bill. While My Guitar Gently Weeps, again probably one of the big tunes off here. Great solo by Clapton. And also, if you have a chance, another great guitarist we talked about, Toronto-born Jeff Healey did an excellent version of this song as well on one of his albums. So you can check that out while you're going. Happiness is a Warm Gun. There's so many different movements. It kind of foreshadows what I heard on Band on the Run, where they had so many different movements. Although this was a Lennon tune, not a McCartney tune. Martha, My Dear, I'm So Tired. Blackbird, again, another big tune for McCartney. Piggies, Rocky Raccoon. I mean, who hasn't heard that one too? Another one. Don't Pass Me By, another feature for Ringo. Why Don't We Do It in the Road? McCartney tune, him kind of taking a play on Lennon. Lennon wondered why he didn't get asked to sing the thing instead of McCartney imitating him doing it. But that and Wild Honey Pie and a couple of these are sort of like that Lovely Linda on the McCartney album. They're just little short snippets to show up on the album. They're not really extended songs, just a little short interlude that's been brought in. We've got I Will, Julia, Birthday. I mean, that one got a lot of play. Radio stations were cranking that one out all the time when they used to do birthday announcements and stuff. Your Blues, Mother Nature's Son. Everybody's Got Something to Hide Except for Me and My Monkey. Sexy Sadie. The dreaded Helter Skelter. Got a lot of publicity because of Charles Manson, right? Felt there was something in that song that was speaking to him. So Helter Skelter became a focal point as well. And again, off this album, which, again, it wasn't supposed to be a feature, but because of Manson, all of a sudden people are focusing in on it. Long, Long, Long. Revolution 1. Similar to the single version, but a lot slower. Honey Pie, Savoy Truffle, Cry Baby Cry, one called Revolution 9, which is not a song at all. If you listen to it, you'll know what I mean. And Good Night. A lot of tunes in there, a lot of familiar tunes in there, some classic writing, some classic performances. It really was a great, great Beatles album. Now, if you were lucky enough to get the album, and this is what you don't get with digital, right? There were some things that came along with it. Let's take a look at the first one. Poster. I'm going to stand up and try and show it to you because this one is a massive one, guys. I don't even know if I can get it all in. We're going to try. A lot of candid photos. There we go. Great. Want to post that on your wall? It was perfect. Just a lot of great memories. But on top of that, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see this very well, but I'll trust me that you can. We've got all the words to all the songs on the reverse side of this poster. So yeah, sing along with it, right? And you think, boy, that's a great insert to have, because I remember, if you recall back when we looked at Chicago albums, they were always sending posters out with theirs. Great idea, right? Posters, put them up on your wall. I used to have posters all over the place. I got a whole box of them over there, which I'm waiting to get around and photograph to get rid of the actual posters, because where I'm going to put them, save them in my digital file. But they went one step further. What'd they give us? A set of 8x10s. We've got Ringo, George Harrison, John Lennon, and Paul McCartney. These are very similar, you'll notice, to the pictures we saw on the inside of the jacket. But 8x10 color photographs, you want to frame them, put them up. I mean, this was just a bonus. Not only did we get 2 albums, 30 tunes, wall poster, all the words to sing along, and frameable 8x10s of the band. It was kind of disappointing when Abbey Road came out. There was nothing I got with that. The Let It Be album, if you bought it, in the early stages, it was a box set. Came with a big book with it. Great, can't find the book anymore, right? Not available. This, along with Meet the Beatles and Let It Be, to me, are the 3 essential Beatles albums for me. Let It Be, I've got 2 copies of it. I've got the original Let It Be, and I have Let It Be Naked, one without all the Phil Spector-isms, stripped down from all that overproduction to just the basics. And again, excellent just to hear the band playing the tunes. To me, some of that overproduction takes away from the music and away from the performances. So I liked both versions. I got 2 of those. 2 of Let It Be, 3 versions of the Beatles' White Album. I mean, these are 2 classics. And Meet the Beatles to kick it all off with in those early days. Streaming networks, yeah, probably there. If you can get a hard copy, great. If you can get a hard copy with all the inserts, man, you've done well. And again, this was back 53 years ago. I bought this one, so are there some around? Yeah, there might be. You're going to get the inserts? Who knows? People posted them up. People traded them off. Who knows where they could be? If you can get all 3, you're laughing. That's it for today. 2 parts of the Beatles. We looked at Magical Mystery Tour Monday. Their next album, Beatles' White Album, another classic. We're winding down. There was only a couple more albums left for the guys, and Let It Be kind of just finished it all off. It was a great career. They had a great series of albums, and that music lives on, and I'll tell you, this music is just as fresh, just as exciting today as when I bought that album 53 years ago. So that's it. Beatles' White Album. Everybody take care, stay safe. We'll see you on Friday.